Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Card presented by TRHS Sports. We are on our 10th episode of this series. Not bad when you think about how shortly ago we were just getting this underway. We still got a great record going on here. We're 43 and 32 coming into today. Yesterday was a 3-4 day. Could have been a lot worse, could have been a lot better. The Reds three-way was awful. The Sclafani, I don't even know how to say his name, and I never will now because he sucks. He gave up 9 runs to the Pirates, and the Reds still only lost that game by 3. Their offense looked like they were ready to get going. It was just the defense. I mean, the pitching was absolutely atrocious for them. The Vegas Golden Knights had total control of that game in the beginning, and then they let the Blackhawks back into it. That was really annoying to watch. Calgary Dallas under was a bad read. Curious what's going to happen with that. And the Phillies are bad. In terms of winners, Rays, Sox, first 5 over, went over in the first inning. So if you had me on that one, you literally just got to sit down and watch the rest of the game. The Grizzlies game was never in doubt, and Vegas hit the overtime winner to go for the over 3.5. In bigger news too, if you were with me from day one, the Blazers, thanks to Karis LeVert missing an open shot at the end of the game, the Blazers are going into the play-in series. They are the 8 seed. They only need to win 1 game over the Memphis Grizzlies, not 2. The Grizzlies need to win 2 over them in order to get into the playoffs and get the 8 seed. If you bet $100 on the Blazers as the 8 seed, then you are going to end up with $400. Emmett from Boston says, yo, Phil, what's up? Not much, man. Still feeling pretty good about everything that's going on right now. Not yours. Appreciate all the info you've been dropping. I hope it's been working. I hope people have been winning. Look, 43 and 32 is good for a 57% win percentage. That's pretty damn good. And that's through 75. We're 75 bets in, and we're at a 57% win percentage. I mean, if you look around, sharps are normally between 53 and 55%. So we're a little bit above that. Obviously, we're still early in the run, but we are doing what we need to do in order to win some money early. Plus, I'm telling you, this Blazers 8 seed hits, it offsets 4 losses. That's the crazy thing about this. It offsets all the dumb MLS bets. It just makes it so that, wow, we just bet $100 to win 400. If you're up units now, you're going to be up even more then. In terms of our NHL series, Colorado and Arizona under 5.5, Philadelphia, Montreal under 5.5, and Vancouver winning the series. Those are all still very much in play. I really like this Colorado team against Arizona. I don't think Arizona has any game at all. I think they're really just a bad hockey team. They don't belong here. This is going to be an easy one for the Avalanche. So I'm going to start off with the NBA, though, because we did finally get an NBA win yesterday. It brings us to 18 and 10. This is the only day of this weekend that I'm going to be doing on the card. I'm going to be off on Saturday and Sunday. I'll be back on Monday to talk a lot about the NBA playoffs and all of that. So I will give my read on the Blazers-Grizzlies game for Saturday on this episode. But I'm going to start off with today's games, and I think that everybody, I know there's a lot of NBA fans out there. That's great. I do think, though, that it's best to just stay away from the NBA today. I think it's just the best thing to do. It's the last day of the regular season. None of these games mean a thing. You're really just flipping a coin if you start betting on these games. At least that's how I feel about it. Right now, there's not many injuries listed for any of the teams. However, I feel like that's going to start coming. Teams are going to play people for a couple minutes. You look at Philadelphia 76ers versus Houston Rockets over under at 230.5. Normally, I would jump all over that and say that's the easiest bet ever, but we just don't know who's going to play today, and they're not going to risk injury in a game that really doesn't mean anything. The Rockets are already without Russ for a couple of games in the playoffs. So, I don't want to see anything happen to this team. I don't think they want to see anything happen to them. So my prediction is nobody's going to be playing, and that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, that's just how I see it going for a lot of these games today. So if you're not in yet, don't get in. There's no reason to. So that's my predictions for all the NBA games. I'll go through them real quick. Denver Nuggets, Toronto Raptors. Nuggets are favored by 1 over under at 222. There's nothing there. I mean, they both have everything locked up. There's no reason to really be playing or anything like that. So I'm just going to ignore that one. Miami Heat versus Indiana Pacers. Heat favored by 1.5 over under at 220.5. The Miami Heat are going to be playing the Pacers again, so I don't even understand why they're favored in this. It's going to be the matchup in the first round of the playoffs, so I don't think either team really comes out and tries to do anything. They don't want to show anything. They don't want to risk injury in a game that ultimately means nothing when they're going to be playing a 7-game series right after this. OKC Clippers. Clippers favored by 6. I like nothing here again. And then, as I talked about already, the Rockets 76ers. So, where does that leave us? Let's talk about the Grizzlies and Portland. So, Portland is favored by 6. The over-under is at 233.5. I like the Blazers now. However, if this number keeps going up, if this hits 7, 7.5, 8, I don't like it. I think 6 is the perfect number to get in at the Blazers. I would have liked it a lot better if it was 5.5. I would have liked it even better if it was 4.5. I think 6 is a good place to get in at the Blazers in this game. The problem with them is they play no defense, which leaves them totally open at any time to end up losing the game. That's just a fact, and that's the sad part of what's going on in this game. They looked really shaky against the Nets. The pressure got to them. However, I think they're going to play a little bit looser here because now the Grizzlies are playing an elimination game. It's not the Blazers who are playing an elimination game. The Blazers can lose this one and still have a chance to get the 8 seed. The Grizzlies can't, and we haven't seen the Grizzlies play with that kind of pressure on them yet against a real basketball team. What people forget, too, is in yesterday's slate of games, the Suns played against a team that wasn't playing their players the entire time. So did the Grizzlies. The Nets wanted to beat the Blazers. That was like their Super Bowl. I was talking to a friend of mine. That was the first time we've had a March Madness-esque game go off since March. We haven't had a game like that since Utah State when the guy hit the 3 to win the game. Sam Merrill hit the 3 to win the game. We have not had a game like that since then, and that's very unusual for American sports, but that's the truth. We haven't had a game with that much meaning and all of that in a very long time. This was the first time we'd seen a playoff game in that long for any sport. And I know the MLS was just doing their tournament, but who cares? It's not the same thing. The pressure in every possession, it was absolutely epic, and we were watching an elimination game. And the Brooklyn Nets know they're not winning the championship this year. It's not going to happen. But if they could have knocked off the Blazers here, they eliminated a team. That's their championship. They knocked off a team and knocked them out of the playoffs. I could see the Blazers look nervous. I mean, Dame is out of his mind. Anybody who bet his over 7.5 threes, it was at plus 870 on FanDuel. And yes, that was something that I hit. Didn't see it until game time, but wow, was that insane. He's chucking them up from the NBA logo. I mean, it's insane. I don't think he's going to go that crazy in this next game, but I like the Blazers here because there's no pressure on them right now. They've made it this far now. Now they can kind of relax a little bit, and I do think that that's going to make it harder for Memphis, a younger team who's a little bit more nervous, missing Jaren Jackson, obviously. Ja, I think, is going to be really, really great, but I just think that the Blazers get it done. They made it past their trap game. I always look at this as like in the NCAA tournament when a team, wins by 1 at the buzzer. Butler did it the year that they went to the final. They win by 1 on a layup by I forget the guy's name, but the guy makes a layup right at the buzzer, and they go all the way on to the championship. Kentucky, same thing. When they beat Wichita State, they barely beat them, and then they go all the way on to the championship. We see this over and over. I'm not saying that the Blazers are going to do anything. I think they lose 4-0, 4-1 to the Lakers. I really do, because the Lakers are going to let Dame get his 50 and just not let anybody else score. But in this game, I like them to get it done, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put Blazers -6 on the card. And I'm warning, though, everybody, just because I'm putting the Blazers -6 doesn't mean I like them at -7, because I don't. And I don't like them at 8. 6 is the highest I would take them. Don't take them any higher than that. Honestly, at that point, just wait for live betting and go from there. All right. I'm not going to get into series lines or anything like that. I'll talk about that on Monday. I mean, the NBA doesn't really have them all out yet. I'm seeing series lines, but when you have the Raptors at -3,335 over the Nets, is that worth placing? The Bucks -10,000, is that worth placing? No, none of these are worth placing. So when we actually start getting a little bit more out, in terms of 4-0s, 4-1s, things like that, we'll start betting that. I will say this one though: get in on the Nuggets. Jamal Murray didn't play for a lot of this time. He's really going to start to pick it up here. So if you can get it on the Nuggets, they're only at -195 right now. I think that's a great place to be. It's only going to go up from there. It was at -170 yesterday. So it's just going to keep on going up, up, up. So get in as soon as you can. That's all I got for the NBA today. So the only thing that's actually going on the card is the Blazers -6. And then we're moving on. Let's go to the MLB because I have 2 bets here. And yesterday was a rough MLB day. We went 1-3. I'd been doing just one bet every day and I've been hitting them. I will say that the Rays Sox would not have been my only bet yesterday. I probably would have done the Reds 3-way, which ended up losing. So I'm going to go a little bit simpler today, and I'm just going to go with the Mets -1.5. I like this number, -115. Great. Jacob deGrom getting the start. Vince Velasquez getting the start for the Phillies. The Phillies look terrible. I mean, the Phillies have nothing going on right now. I do know that the Phillies have, they can get hits against DeGrom. But I just think the Mets team is better than the Phillies right now. I think the Phillies are really struggling. I like DeGrom to get the job done, -118. The other one, if you follow me on betonphilwood.com, I put up my one MLB bet for the day yesterday, which was the Indians' first 5 -1.5. And it's at +140. It's a pretty number. However, that's not the one I'm going to do here because I want to play it a little bit safer. I'm going to go with the Indians -1.5. This is at -115 for the full game. -115. It was at like -130 yesterday, so this actually dropped, which is why I like it a little bit more. They got Savali on the line, and he's on the mound, and Ivan Nova is on the mound for the Tigers. I bet on Indians pitching right now. Indians pitching has been good. Their offense hasn't been, but you can get hits, you can get runs off of Ivan Nova. If anybody's been paying attention, when I bet the Indians, we normally win. Right now, I had the Cincinnati Cleveland under 8.5, the first 5 Cleveland under 4.5, the Cleveland Indians money line in a game a couple days ago. The Cleveland Indians money line was one of my first bets that I've ever done. So I do have a pretty good read on the Indians when they actually go. I like them in this game. I like their pitching. I don't like the Tigers. I know that the Tigers have been pretty impressive this year. They've overachieved a little bit, but I like the Indians to get it done. -1.5 is not a big number. So my two bets that I'm putting on the card for the MLB today are the Indians -1.5 and the Mets -1.5. I wish I could just take their money lines, but it's a little too much. Cleveland is -195. The Mets are -200. It's just too much like for a baseball game, I think. So I'll take it a little bit safer, do the -1.5. But I do think that if you want to get in on the Indians -1.5 through the first 5 with really good odds, that's not a bad bet to place, something that you could really look at. All right, going on to the NHL. This is the last portion of today. The NHL was bizarre yesterday. The Vegas Golden Knights looked fantastic in the first period. They came out fire, and I'm like, great, this is over. And then they settled, and they just let the Blackhawks get back into the game, which was really weird to watch. I didn't enjoy watching that. Like, start playing the game, guys. Like, what are you doing? They let the Blackhawks right back into it. The Blackhawks end up forcing overtime. No goals in the entire third period, even though the Knights should have scored like 6 in that third period. They had so many chances. None of them go in. So they end up getting the over 3.5 goals. They don't win by 1.5. Then we sit down and we watch Dallas versus Calgary, and the game goes 5-4 after both offenses looked putrid in the first game. It's insane. Like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here, especially the Blue Jackets beat the Lightning 3-1. I don't know if the Lightning are going to win that series anymore. They can't score against Korpisalo. And if you can't score against Korpisalo, you're not going to win the series. I think they're in a lot of trouble right now. I really do. We get the Hurricanes knocking off the Bruins. So right now we have a bunch of series that are 1-1. And then we have the Vegas Golden Knights who are 2-0, but didn't look great in their second game. What does that mean for today? It means I'm going to stick with the chalk here. I like the Avalanche a lot in this game. The Arizona Coyotes, look, do I believe that they could change their approach? Yes. 100%. I absolutely believe they could change their approach. We just saw the Stars do it. And the Stars look great, but the Stars are a way better team than the Coyotes. Remember, the Coyotes were the 11th best team in the West coming into this. We're seeing the teams that weren't that good when they came into this not performing that well. The Coyotes right now, if you go and you prop up their goal total, if you get under 2, it's at +104. Putting that on the card. I don't like them to score at all in this game. I just don't like them to score at all. So under 2 at +104, putting it on the card. Like, it would be a shame to push it, but the -2.5 is like -170, 180. It's too much. So I'm going to stick with this. I don't think they're going to score 2. I think they're going to score 1, so I'll get a little bit of the better price and think I'm still going to win it. Look, I was off on Calgary and Dallas yesterday, but Arizona is not as good as either one of those teams. I really like the Avalanche defense. The Avalanche play structured. As long as the Avalanche play at even strength the entire game, there is no way this Arizona Coyote team is going to score against them. It's just not going to happen. Also, I like the Avalanche -1.5 here. And here's my reasoning why. I know that I did this yesterday, and I ended up getting it wrong with the Vegas Golden Knights. But right now, if you look at what's going on with this Coyotes team, Kemper played amazing in the first game. He was unbelievably standing on his head, and then they give up 3 goals in a minute and 23 seconds. I think the floodgates are open, and I think the Avalanche are about to take it to this team. And if Arizona wants to win in this series, they have to play differently, which means they're not just going to sit back and let Colorado control a game like they did in game 1, which I actually think is going to be worse for them because I think Colorado is going to come out and score like crazy. I like this -1.5. We're getting +132. Not bad. So I'm putting that one on the card. I only have one other NHL bet, so it's going to be a 6-bet card, 5 bets for today and 1 bet for tomorrow with the Blazers. The Canadians and the Flyers, man, Carter Hart was standing on his head as well. I really love the way he's playing. However, I don't like how many chances the Flyers are giving up. Eventually, these are going to start going in. It always happens in the playoffs. There's always going to be one game where you just sit down and you're like, wow, that sucks. It's going to, there's going to be goals. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to not take anything in this game. I'm going to take a wait and see approach and see what goes on here. Next up, Canucks Blues. I think the Blues looked a lot better towards the end of this game than they did at the beginning of the game. So I'm going to stay away from this one as well. I still like the Canucks to win the series, but I don't know. I mean, a 2-0 lead over the defending Stanley Cup champions. I don't know if the Canucks are going to be able to pull that off. I think this series goes 7. Right now it's 1-0, so I'm going to sit back on this. Islanders Capitals. I like the Islanders at +106. This game was like, I was surprised that the Islanders are coming in at dogs here after how they looked in game 1. They looked better the entire game, the whole time. Yes, they were down 2-0, but they looked like the better team the entire time. The problem is they go shorthanded too many times. They commit too many stupid penalties, and therefore they go shorthanded. I like them to clean up their act in this game. Backstrom is out for the Capitals, which is a big loss. I like the Islanders to get the win at +106 and take a 2-0 series lead over the Washington Capitals. I think they get it done in this game. It's going to be a really good game, but if the Islanders can stay at even strength, the Capitals cannot play with them. They can't. I mean, I watched the entire game. I watched the Islanders in their first series. I watched Capitals. The Capitals have no pace in the 5-on-5 against this Islanders team. Once the Islanders stop getting into penalty trouble, once they stop taking the stupid penalties, they scored 4 straight and looked dominant. They scored a shorthanded goal. I mean, I like them to win this game. They could win this game by a lot if they actually go for goals, and if they don't make stupid penalties. I'm serious. Like, I love this Islanders team, and I hate this matchup for the Washington Capitals, especially with Backstrom out. So, New York Islanders on the card at +106. That's my last bet of the day. I'm not going to take anything on that Dallas-Calgary game. I'm surprised the Flames are favored. So this is something that we got to keep an eye on, especially when the NBA is starting to come back here. It's in a bubble. Yes, Calgary is considered the home team, but it's in a bubble. Who cares? So the Stars were favored after game 1, even though they lost, but now the Flames are favored after game 2, even though they lost. Why are the Flames being favored in this game? Is it because they're now technically the home team? I don't understand. And they're barely favored. It's -113 and -104. So I don't understand this one at all. I'm going to stay away from it in case there's something I'm missing, but it's going to be interesting to see how Vegas kind of reacts to there is no home team. It's all in the bubble. This isn't actually making a difference. There's no fans, nothing like that. So it's a 1-1 series. They're playing on back-to-back days. I don't like taking teams on back-to-back days, especially after what we saw with Carolina and Boston the other day. I just cannot get a good read on those. So I'm going to stay away here, but keep an eye out for how Vegas overreacts to maybe how some of these teams are playing at home, air quotes, to see what goes on here. I don't know how I feel about this, but I'm going to stay away because I don't want to take a chance and then end up getting burned. So those are my 7 bets or 6 bets for today. 5 of them are for today. 1 of them is for tomorrow, which is the Blazers. I'll run through it one more time so you all know what the card is. Indians -1.5. Mets -1.5, Blazers -6, Arizona Coyotes under 2 at +104, Islanders +106, Avs -1.5 at +132. That's what I got for today. I won't be back on Saturday or Sunday. I'll be back on Monday morning breaking down a bunch of NBA series and NBA lines because now that it's actually playoff time, people are actually going to play their teams. So we can actually start getting back to betting on NBA and making it worthwhile. If you've been enjoying, make sure to go follow me over on Twitter at Phil Wood Jr. Follow TRHS Sports. We got to start getting that bigger. I mean, right now we are on fire. You know, when you're doing 57% on bets, people love that. that's a great thing to be doing. So, make sure you're getting in early and make sure you're spreading the word so that other people can find out about it. It's been a lot of fun, and it's even more fun because we're off to a flaming hot start. Follow me on betonphilwood.com. I've been doing daily free bets. Some of them have been similar, some of them have not, but you can get them earlier in the day, so maybe you can get them at better lines because I put them out at night. I won't be putting out another one of those until Sunday when I do an entire NBA preview. But right now, if you're in on my NHL preview, a lot of what I said looks like it's actually coming true. At least, hey, we're early in the series, but a lot of it has been looking pretty good. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I will see you Monday morning on the card.